What's up, YouTube? How is everyone doing? My name is Adam, and this is our channel, The Comic Nerds. I'm here with Shane and Andrew, and we are the three of us make The Comic Nerds. I have a YouTube channel, and I know that I tried to do another Comic Nerds separate YouTube channel in the past, but I forgot the password and I can't get back into it. So, and I can't find it anywhere either, to be honest with you. I can only find the video online. God, sorry, I apologize. So what I actually decided to do in an attempt to kind of expand the channel, not only this channel, but my main channel, my streaming channel, is to create a YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/ a really long thing because I cannot customize URLs anymore. So it is adips_. So it is just like my channel name, but it is adips_, and I'm going to have an entire playlist dedicated to the Comic Nerds. So I'm recording all of my stuff. I'm, posting things, but because we watch trailers, I can't post it on YouTube because technically that's copyright if I watch the entire trailer and it's wholesome. So, I want to take out all the trailers, and I do want to just start off this video by announcing that I have a YouTube channel, but basically just starting it off for the people who are watching this on YouTube. So again, we are the Comic Nerds. If you're interested in our content, we talk about comics all the time. What's new in the Marvel universe? What's new in the DC universe? I love Marvel. I love DC comics and I love Marvel movies. I think Marvel movies are doing fantastic, and I think DC movies at the moment, not so much. Andrew over here, and I think that, Andrew, you can confirm, but Andrew is a very big DC fan, not so much a Marvel fan, but we're slowly converting him.
I'm not saying I'm a fan. I just lean more towards DC. That's it.
Leans more towards DC. And then we have Shane over here, who is kind of our middleman, who really enjoys DC Comics. If I remember correctly, you like DC Comics more than the MCU comics, but you're leaning more towards the MCU movies, but you're really more of like a middleman when it comes to like reviews. And
I am a full DC head, but like I grew up reading both DC and Marvel comics, watching all of the animations and everything. So like I don't have a specific bias because like I love all comics.
So there you go.
And just to be clear real quick, I don't really know much about comics. These two guys only want me here because I have dumb opinions about comics.
That's not true.
Movies. Goddamn facts.
That's not true. I enjoy having the original thing. I enjoy having you here because I think the three of us, and this is where I was getting at, is the three of us together, I think, form a really good team to accurately talk about comics and to accurately rate comic movies. And we have one person who leans more towards Marvel, we have one person who leans towards more DC, and then we have one person in the middle, and all three of us combined, when we start talking about these subjects, we clash very well, I think, and we mesh very well when it comes to these topics of conversations. But you can trust us because we're very well versed in the comics, in the animated series, in the universes of Marvel and DC. Maybe not so much Andrew, but Andrew likes to talk, so that's fun. But yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
That's not true.
No, so, but my thing is, I think that you can come here. And I think that this is a really good place if you love to talk about comics, if you love to talk about Marvel or DC related news. We are a place that you can come, and we would love to meet you. We would love to talk to you, and we would love to talk comics with you and hear about your opinions related to our opinions on all of this stuff. So the way that this works is every Marvel and DC movie that comes out, we end up actually going to see it for research purposes and also entertainment purposes. And we'll come back on Thursday. By the way, the Comic Nerds are on every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We come back to the show and we give our ratings. And between the three of us, we rate an overall average on the movie. And, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like we have very accurate movie ratings when it comes to just the average in general. So we do come back to that rating. So if you're ever interested on whether or not you should watch a Marvel or DC movie or show, come to us because we will watch it and we will rate it. And we will rate it accurately. Yes. and unbiasedly, even though, you know, some of us lean more towards one universe. I think that we do share. Just because I like Marvel movies more does not mean that I don't like DC. It just means that I like DC less at the moment because DCEU sucks. But you know what I mean? But I'm saying, like, if a good DC movie comes out, I will absolutely love that movie. So it's just a matter of, you know, what's going on at the moment. But you know, we all have our personal preferences. So that is what we're going to kick off here. We're kicking right off with the Black Adam review here. What we like to do is we like to do a non-spoiler review first, so that those of you who haven't watched the movie will be able to actually get an accurate opinion and determine whether or not you actually want to go see the movie, if we helped you understand the movie in any way. And then what we'll do is, after we'll announce that we are going to do a non-spoiler or an actual spoiler review. And that is where we go in very detail of the movie itself. We'll talk about Easter eggs, we'll talk about end credit scenes, and we'll talk about what we think the future of DC or the Marvel Universe is going towards based off of the movie alone. So if you've seen the movie and you'd like to join in on our conversation, join us on Thursdays after the movie is released, and let's talk about the movie. We'd love to hear your opinions. So this is for YouTube. They can skip. I'm going to make chapters, whatever. So yeah. Black Adam obviously just came out. Guys, there was some solid trailers. But overall, and I think I'm going to actually, I'm going to do something a little different. I think we should do something a little different with this rating. Usually what we did was we would talk about the movie and we'd give our overall opinion. Yeah. So we would each rate it out of 10, and then we would take that average, and that would be our rating. This time we're gonna separate it into categories. So I got some categories going on, built up into different things. These categories are going to be separated and rated out of 5. And then our overall at the end is going to be out of 10. So this is going to give everyone a better understanding as to how we rate the movies the way that we do, and give a better and accurate, I think, rating of the movie itself. So the way that we're going to rate this is we are going to split it into the story or the plot. How good was the overall plot? Were you able to understand it? Was it consistent? Was it, you know, clean? Or was it all over the place? We're going to rate it as character. I think as of right now, we're just going to rate the character Black Adam, obviously, since that was Black Adam. But we can also talk other characters. As we all know, Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Cyclone, Atom Smasher, they were all introduced in this movie. We can talk about their characters a little bit more, but I feel like the out of 5 is going to be based off of Black Adam himself. We're going to base the movie off of action. How good were the action scenes, even though the entire movie was action, but how good were these scenes? Were they good action? Was it messy action? Did it not make sense? Was it just not catching? Whatever. We're going to go into CGI. So obviously the CGI, how did it look? Was it messy? Was it look real? Did it look good? Was it like fake, like the Wonder Woman Prometheus kind of crap? Or was it like very well and clean, sharp CGI stuff, more realistic looking? And then we're going to rate it off soundtrack. Obviously, every movie has a soundtrack. How memorable was the soundtrack? Did the soundtrack allow us to be moved in a little bit more with the movie? Or did it just not do what it needed to do? Was it another Doctor Strange 2 kind of thing? And I'm just adding another category to myself that we're not going to rate because I'm already giving it a 5 out of 5 and you can't change my mind. Cyclone. Automatic 5 out of 5 of the movie. She was fucking fantastic. Her name,
yes, was.
Her name is Quintessa Swindle. In 5 out of 5, she's gorgeous. Her action scenes were solid. Overall, there was not one bad scene that she did, and that is why I'm giving her
the moment she entered the scene.
Absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever seen her in any other show or movie, but holy crap, was she fantastic in this entire movie. She was gorgeous. Her hair was amazing. Just her overall. Great. Personality, awesome. Looks, great. Everything, great. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. No one else can change my mind, and I know everyone else agrees. So Cyclone is a 5 out of 5, and then we're going to split it into an overall, which is actually going to be rated out of 10 instead of 5. So we'll go one by one, but before we go into this and really talk about the details, we're going to start with our non-spoiler review. So, for those of you who haven't seen it, if you'd like to stick around, determine whether or not this is a movie that you want to see. Or maybe this makes you more excited to see the movie or less excited to see the movie, but you're still going to see it. We would still love to hear your opinion after you see the movie. But for now, hang tight and let's talk about how we felt. Andrew, I'm actually really curious as to hear your non-spoiler review again, because you were the first to see the movie out of all three of us, and you actually saw it on last Thursday before last Thursday's episode. And you did talk about the review there. I'd love to hear it again, just as a refresher, going into more detail.
I don't know. The movie was, like I told you in the last stream, it was I found it underwhelming. So a lot of the stuff that I've seen, it's like hazy to me now. Like it's not memorable for me. And but do you want me to hit these notes at these points here? Like
I
what do
think
you
that
want me
we
to
can
say?
go into these notes during the spoiler review only because in order to really talk about some of this stuff,
We kinda have
we
to go
kind of have to
spoilers.
go a little bit
Yeah.
spoilers.
Oh.
We can kind of brush up on it, but I don't think that we're going to
Yeah.
give our official ratings. So if you want to go like story plot, like how did you feel the plot? Was it there? Was it collected? Did it make sense?
The plot was very minor, but they somehow made it extend. They extended the whole. It felt like the plot only needed like 5 minutes, but they extended it for like an hour and a half, and that's why it felt like it dragged and underwhelming for me. Is because of that. Because everything with the movie is 90% action, and when you get 90% action in an hour and a half movie, an hour and a half film,
Oh, it
It
was
just
2
feels
hours. It was
repetitive.
2.5 hours.
was it 2.5 hours?
It was 2.5 hours, man.
Yeah, but it was
didn't
just
know that.
repetitive. Yeah, but yeah, it just felt repetitive. Everything. So with the
Hey
action.
man, if they can do that with John Wick, I'm
Or 2
perfectly fine with
See,
Black
John
Adam.
Wick makes sense though.
It does
makes
make
sense
sense,
with
though.
John Wick
It was about a dog. What you mean? It
Yeah.
makes sense?
because it has a small plot, and it's just this whole thing got blown out of proportion.
That's basically what this was.
No, this is not. This is supposed to build a universe. So you can't do that with
Yeah,
this.
I know, but I'm saying like as a standalone, you can enjoy
this-
it for what it was, which was 90% action.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we touched on the our scores earlier before this thing. Mine was not low, I don't think. You know, it was okay.
It was
No, it
originally
wasn't.
when
It
we
was
first
a little.
tested.
When I
When
walked
we
out of
first
theater,
tested,
yeah,
Yeah.
but I had to like, take it all in first, and then
Okay.
I was like, you know what, I'll give it a little bit higher, and yeah.
So
Yeah,
what about?
it just felt like,
Oh god.
yeah, go ahead.
No, just finish up because I was gonna go into a different topic.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. No, basically that was it. It was just like repetitive action, underwhelming story, underwhelming character development of anything.
Okay,
Everything
so
was just
that was my
very
next
underwhelming.
question: was how you felt Black Adam as a character was without non-spoilers.
I was, freak is hard, not spoilers. So the origin, because I've known Black Adam from a different origin.
Oh.
So obviously they did a different. I don't. I guess that's leading towards spoilers. So I'm
It's
not
leading
really
to.
sure how
We'll
how
talk
to
about
word
that
it.
because this is something that
Yeah.
I was actually really. upset about.
However, in terms of Black Adam himself in the film, what we saw, he did freaking amazing in terms of what Dwayne the Rock Johnson said he's going to deliver in the movie. He delivered.
He did deliver.
So I got to
It
give
was-
him prop for this, and this is not really a spoiler because it's mentioned prior to everything. He's like, this movie is going to be the highest kill count
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah,
DC. Yeah,
Yeah, he
and
did-
Yeah.
that
didn't
hit
lie.
the mark. That hit the mark. He did not lie. So
Which-
he
For him
played.
to play a villain and to actually do villainous things, like
That makes sense.
it's so
Yeah.
satisfying.
Well, it also
That
makes
was-
sense because
Yeah.
Black Adam is an agent of chaos. Like this dude is a straight up just murders and destroys everything. You know what I mean? So like it was good to see something like that, but
Yeah.
Because we've been getting so many like villain movies, like like Venom and all that, and they're just automatically anti-hero rather than starting as a villain becoming anti-hero, which is a lot of storylines go that way, and they immediately is like no killing, and this thing, like straight killing.
yeah, yeah.
But
That's what I like,
He
yeah.
did the whole using his powers and killing a lot and stuff like that. That is the description for Black Adam. So that part was fine. However, the way the movie was, it didn't feel like he was a villain or an anti-hero. to me.
That's true
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And that's the part that really bugged me because it's not supposed to be like that, or at least from what I remember.
So as a overall, you were just a little you were disappointed. It was underwhelming for you.
Yeah, underwhelming.
Okay, Shane, how about yourself? What did you think? Because I think you had a little bit of a different opinion than Andrew.
Yeah, no, because immediately after Andrew watched it, I called him to see what his review was because I've always known that he and I clashed in opinions when it comes to any specific movie. Doesn't matter if it was superhero related. Like we usually have a clash in opinions. So
Yeah.
I gauge my viewing pleasure on his his perception of a movie.
Oh my god.
So if it's underwhelming for him, I'm thinking I might enjoy it. And then
Yeah.
sometimes if it like he thinks it's fantastic, I kind of go in like we'll see.
Reserved.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
But like during the whole movie, it was absolutely loved how The Rock killed it as Black Adam. Like that man, I swear to God, like because it's like this man is like built
Oh, he's Bill.
for a hero. You know what I mean? For a hero costume or a suit. You know what I mean? And he got to play one of like the most infamous villains. And the entire time I was like engaged by that. I was like excited to see that like he's actually in like a comic book movie and everything. Action like was phenomenal. Understand with the storyline. I actually agree with you on a lot of those parts as well. And a lot of the characters that they introduced, I was excited that they were finally introduced into the DC universe, which is like because some of my favorite characters. It wasn't like underwhelming or anything for me. I enjoyed it, but I'm also like judging it based on how it's gonna extend the rest of the universe or bleed into the rest of the already set up universe. So I'm kind of curious about it. Yeah, I enjoyed it when I seen it.
Okay, fair enough. So, when I first saw the movie, I enjoyed it. Just like you said, I loved the action. I loved how it was like basically 2.5 hours full of action. The more I thought of the movie, the more I started getting disappointed about the movie because I kind of was able to like settle down from all of the action and all of the hype that I just watched and really kind of break the movie down. And every time I started breaking the movie down, I got more and more upset. And so the thing is, and this is what was interesting. So I know Black Adam. You know Black Adam. We all know Black Adam. My wife doesn't. So I didn't tell my wife. I saw this movie with my wife. I purposely did not tell her anything about Black Adam because I actually wanted to see if this was going to be a movie that someone who has no knowledge of what Black Adam is would understand. Now, this wasn't the greatest example because they kind of changed up Black Adam's origin, but my whole point still stands because I did read reviews and all of the reviews said the same, where it was basically just entirety of action and little plot or like very messy plot. So after we watched the movie, I asked my wife, what she thought of it and if she was able to make sense. She did say, she was like, I understand his origin, but it just didn't make sense. It was just a whole messy plot and it didn't really have much of a plot. It was just like, let's throw the movie needed a little bit of a plot, but they felt like they just threw it in just to have something. And it was just followed by a shit ton of action. So
Yeah.
I did agree with her on that because it did feel like, because other than that, this movie didn't even need to have a plot. They could have just had a bunch of murdering and like action and then like no plot at all. But instead they decided to do a plot. Now, here's the thing. We all know that Hawkman and everyone was introduced in this movie. If anyone has seen the trailers, you would know. If you're even hyped about watching this movie, you would know that the Justice Society was introduced in this movie. I personally didn't even feel that there was a need for the Justice Society at all. It made no sense to have them in this movie. I think that it was just a really random way to introduce them because it's Black Adam, but honestly, I was very upset because this to me felt like another movie where like there was such a huge buildup to the main scene and the main villain, which we'll get into a little bit during the spoiler review. But there was a villain, and it wasn't Black Adam, but it was so there was so much hype. And then all of a sudden we get to that final buildup, and that buildup finally comes to the entire thing of the reasoning, and they were defeated in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes. You could have either kept the Justice Society in there and made Black Adam a main villain, and then the Justice Society is fighting and trying to stop Black Adam this entire time, or you could have taken the Justice Society out as a whole and then extended the fight between the main villain and Black Adam. One of the two. But instead they kind of combined it, and to me it just felt like it did, one of them didn't belong. You know what I mean? So there's a few things that like really upset me, and I do want to kind of get into that when we get into the spoiler. But overall, I will say story plot messy, character decent. But very upsetting. So I'm not going to give it like a pretty high rating. I'm probably going to give it like an even 2.5 to 3, in my opinion, for the character. The action's 5 out of 5. I mean, like every action scene was actually so good. The only thing that I had a problem with was there was way too many slow motion parts. Everything was slow-mo.
I mean, that man got that super speed.
Yeah,
That's
but
how
like,
they portray it.
look, I get that Cyclone needed slow motion scenes because like she literally moved and spun so fast. But like everything else, I was like, yo, come on, like it's a little too much slow-mo. Soundtrack, yeah, soundtrack. Honestly, like it was forgettable. I don't even remember them being a soundtrack in the movie.
I don't remember any song in there or like.
Yeah, there
anything
was
like,
some old 80s songs, 90s songs, and all that stuff
It was
that they used.
stupid. Like I couldn't even like it's forgettable very much. Cyclone, I will always and forever stick with 5 out of 5, and then we'll talk about the overall rating soon. So overall, this is a decent movie, and now that we know that The Rock announced that this is actually the first movie of Phase 1, I actually think like if it was just going to stick with the DCEU, I would have thought that this movie is just a mediocre movie. Now that it is announced that it is the first movie in Phase 1 of the DC universe, I actually think that this is a good way to kick off the Phase 1. I think it's a good way to introduce a lot of what the Phase 1 is going to be involved with. So I like that, including the end credit scene, which we'll get into a little bit later too. But it's a good first step. But other than that, if it wasn't the first movie of Phase 1, it just would have been a mediocre movie to me. Nothing like too crazy, but the action scenes were really entertaining. So if you really, really like action and you like movies such as like John Wick and stuff, you would probably like this movie because it is absolutely chock full of action scenes. And that is basically our non-spoiler review. So just to get everyone in a quick warning, guys, we are now going to be getting into the spoiler section of this movie. We're going to be talking about Easter eggs, the end credit scene, the actual movie in a whole. We'll talk more detail in the actual characters themselves, and we will literally be talking about the entirety of this movie, the villain, everything. If you have not seen this movie, now is the time to leave. I am giving more than enough time for you to actually leave. I'm sorry if you wanted to watch us. I know that we're very entertaining and awesome, and I love you guys. But seriously, you need to leave. You need to go. Because this is the part of the movie that if you don't like spoilers, you're going to get very, very upset. All right, 3, 2, 1, and we're back. Okay, so let's get into the spoiler review. Let me actually kick this spoiler alert kind of little segue into where did it go? I lost my spoiler thing. What the hell? No, hold on.
Well, it's fast.
Oh, it's on the other thing. Oh, no. Oh, well. Well, it's the spoiler alert. Okay, you know what? Let me actually change the title. So I'm going to change the title of this episode to a legitimate thingy-mabobber.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let me just change this real quick so that we all know. I'm gonna change it in all caps so they know. So spoiler alert. Black Adam review. The comic nerds. All right, we are updated and ready to go. So, spoiler alert. Here's where I think that we're gonna, get into the nitty gritty of the movie, and then we're gonna go, plot category after category, really kind of nick down all of the categories here. Can I just start because I have a list. I have a list that we can kind of talk about. Here's the deal.
I'd rather you start doing the review, and I'll chime in
Great.
to tell you
Basically,
my
I'll do the
views
same.
on it.
Awesome. Because I have problems with this movie. First things first, the actual fucking premise of the entire movie, Black Adam. I have a hard problem with them. First of all, one, you didn't trick or fool anyone at the fact that, like, Dwayne Johnson was not the kid in the movie, okay? Dwayne
Tricked
Johnson.
me.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Really?
You did?
Yeah.
Dude, Dwayne Johnson
I
has.
thought it was kid.
Scene, in the scene showing the kid, you see the dad come up talk
I
to him. You
totally
telling me you
forgot.
didn't think that looked like The Rock?
Nope. They made him a little skinnier, so I was like, all right.
Bro,
no
never
shit.
mind. Hold on. First of all, never mind looking like The Rock. Bro, he sounded like The Rock. As soon as he said the first damn sentence, I was like, that's the fucking Rock, dude. And then, like,
Yeah.
when the kid became Black Adam, I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I was like, that's not Dwayne Johnson, bro. Like, who the hell? And then all of a sudden, he announced it at the end, like, we all didn't know. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, it's
That's-
fucking, wow.
That's why I thought it was The
Yeah,
Rock.
like, the whole
Because
time.
he got the powers, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's The Rock. now.
That's
So
why
like,
I was
all right.
confused as well, because they did a good job in, like, I guess hiding or like making you a little confused. The problem is that is not how Black Adam got his powers in the comics. And the way that they perceive Black Adam in this movie is not the comic book version of Black Adam that I know. The Black Adam that I know is the original champion. He was supposed to be the champion of the Wizards. They chose him. They chose wrong. He became chaotic and, like, uncontrollable. And then he became literally an agent of chaos where he just murdered and destroyed and leveled cities and towns. And he was an unstoppable force to the point where Superman and Shazam had to team up and fight this guy. He is so strong and OP in the comics. They made him look like a bitch compared to the comics in this movie. Now, what happened was, obviously, Dwayne Johnson was the father of the original champion, which also, by the way, don't understand how he was able to transfer his powers by just touching his hand and whispering. I thought that you had to have like a thing to transfer the power, like the staff. Like Shazam had the staff to be able to transfer it
that's
into
his
his
staff.
brothers and
Yeah.
sisters. But in the Rock and in Black Adam, his son just held his hand and then said Shazam at the same time that he said Shazam, and then was able to transfer his power. Also, by the way, completely transferring his power.
Yeah, that was
This-
the one I was like confused about.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Me and Shane was talking about that. Yeah.
Like, how can he fully transfer his power to a different person without a staff or without an item to be able to transfer, but also fully? Because Shazam still kept his powers when he transferred over his powers to his kids. They just shared the power. But he transferred his power over completely and then died.
For all we know, maybe the staff was the reason.
Maybe, but
Rather
who knows?
than-
I still
maybe,
think that's
yeah.
kind of dumb. It's just a little, it's a
it
little
was-
messed up.
It felt like a little plot hole that
Right.
was just glossed over.
Now, I also think
All the action.
they're making him into a hero, and this is where I'm a little worried, is because he isn't
No, like-
supposed to be a hero. He's supposed to be
Yeah,
a villain.
especially for the first movie.
Right. And
Like you gotta give us that classic Black Adam. Like he was killing,
Right.
yes. He had like this viewpoint on death and all that shit that like I honestly was kind of behind him about.
Mhm.
I got annoyed by Hawkman because of that.
oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it was like that wasn't enough. I was like, I just want a classic villain, no remorse, no guilt like movie.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yo,
They couldn't do it.
also, he willingly said Shazam. Black Adam would never just fucking
Hell no.
willingly
know,
give
that was
up
a
and
weird
say
one. Yeah.
Shazam. I was like, this is so fucking stupid. This is where I got upset, is because obviously they're rebranding him as a different person. And like they're giving him the dad. They're making him into a dad. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm pretty sure the kid actor who had his moments. He was kind of decent at acting, but then not so much. But I'm pretty sure that kid actor played his son and also played the
Oh,
child.
no, it was a different.
Was it a different kid? Because they kind of looked very similar. And I don't know if you noticed too, but the
The
wife
woman is
looked.
the wife, yeah.
So I think what happened was he saw the wife and he saw the son, and obviously his dad instincts kind of kicked in, making him caring and like giving him a conscience. But that doesn't happen with the Black Adam. And I think that they're giving him like a weakness, and it's stupid. Also, by the way, he destroyed his throne. Black Adam would never destroy his throne. He sits on that way too much. Like his headquarters is what is it, Kabak? Is it Kabak or something? Kondak. Thank you. So Kondak is his normal place. They did solid with some of the story plot, but like the way that they wrote him as a character is making me a little nervous. And this is how I think Black Panther is also going to end. My theory, and this is what's going to upset me. So here's the thing. In the comics, Shazam fought Black Adam a lot. But Shazam was not strong enough to fight Black Adam by himself. But what Shazam was good at was Shazam was very smart into tricking Black Adam into saying Shazam. And that's how he actually defeated Shazam a number of times. But what's going to happen in the thing, and I think we're going to get like obviously a Shazam versus Black Adam fight. But I think that Shazam is going to start becoming more of a hero. So here's the direction that I'm predicting. First of all, because I predicted the end credit scene. So let's quickly talk about the end credit scene here, because I feel like we can't talk about the rest of the movie without talking about the end credit scene. And that is that Henry motherfucking Cavill has been re-announced as Superman. The end credit scene was basically Amanda Waller talking to Black Adam saying that if he leaves Kahndaq, he will be killed. But then this is where I think that we're starting to see kind of a villain side, is that like he's a good guy, but then he's also very cocky. So he still has that mindset that he's the strongest in the world. But then Amanda Waller said she knows people that are not from this world that she can call in favors. And then he destroyed the hologram thing. Superman came floating down. And then he said, we need to talk. Now, fun fact, that suit that he chose, the blue suit, was actually the original suit. It was the OG suit. Henry Cavill picked that suit out himself. He said that if I'm coming back as Superman, it only felt right that I would come back as the OG, as the aesthetic. And like, he's like, it was very nostalgic. It was a very important moment for me because that's the Superman that I know, and that's the Superman that I wanted to play. So they gave that to him. And did you notice the little hair thing that he had? He actually had the Superman hair. Everything was perfect.
Finally.
So he basically said, we need to talk. And that was the entirety of the only end credit scene of Black Adam. There's one end credit scene. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up the end credit scene in here is because I now think that we are going to get a Shazam Superman team up versus Black Adam. But the problem that I'm seeing is I think that because Darkseid is going to be the Thanos of the DCU, I think that Darkseid is going to be so overpowered that it's going to be a threat to Black Adam, and Black Adam will then team up with everyone else. And then he's going to give himself up willingly. Like, he already gave himself up willingly by saying Shazam in the first place. I think he'll actually say it again. And that's where I'm starting to get a little nervous in the direction of Black Adam, because it just seems that they're like nerfing him a little bit.
It's definitely gonna go a different direction, because I know there are some comics where Black Adam is part of the JSA, where he's helping the JSA.
Right.
Yeah.
But
So they're probably gonna go that route where like he can help the Justice League every now and then, but he's gonna have his own crew to do his thing.
I guess. I don't know.
I guess.
They need to give him an actual villain story first before giving him his anti-hero shit. Because I can't. That's what I'm saying. Like, some of the most interesting thing about his comics and his storyline is how overpowered and evil he is,
Mhm.
and like I
But
feel like
remember,
this gloss over that part of him. Like I don't know.
yeah, I don't even think they gloss over it. They're completely abandoning that whole
They did.
aspect of him
Yeah,
But here,
because
like I said, it's the
what
whole like Venom thing again. Like
yeah,
yeah.
they make him anti-hero automatically.
because the reason why he fought Shazam in the first place is because he wants Shazam's powers.
Right.
And this version of Black Adam, we don't see him like power hungry at all. Like he's just cocky with his
Yeah.
powers already.
No.
So
But here's how I think that they're going to actually reintroduce the villain side of him is he's cocky like we've all seen. And the way that he's going to see, I think what's going to happen is he's actually going to see Shazam. So right now, but also fucking plot hole because I'm gonna say this right now. Black Adam has been gone for thousands of years, right? 5,000, I think they said. And he comes back. He doesn't know what a TV is. So he doesn't know what the hell has been going on in the world. He's going to somehow find out about Shazam, and he's going to know that Shazam got his powers through the same way that he got his powers. And I think that's going to make him feel a little threatened, and he's going to fight Shazam to try and see who the strongest is. And I think that's where he starts to get a little power hungry or threatened. Now, the reason as to why I say plot hole is because how the fuck do you speak a different language and then go to sleep for 5,000 years and come back and automatically know how to speak English?
Off the same shit.
I because the movie became 90% action, I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna try to question anything anymore. I'm just gonna let him do what he wants to do.
For whatever reason, that small little thing pissed me off the most because I was like, how are you going to speak an entirely different Egyptian language or something, and then all of a sudden look at him and be like, yeah. Also, no slang.
that
He
he
knew
just-
slang.
Yeah, it was that he picked up the language almost immediately, right? But the part that really annoyed me is that like anyone who has an original dialect, original language that they learn, and then they learn a new language, has an accent. He was just straight up American.
He was straight up American.
Like, yeah, a straight up American accent, and I'm like, that's annoying. But I was like, whatever. They're just gonna like, they'll probably explain it through magic or whatever. Like honestly,
Probably,
it's
right.
whatever.
So he
I mean, yeah,
did-
he does have one of the God of Knowledge or some shit like that.
I guess, but that was stupid. So and they didn't like explain it at all. So even then, so now, I think that kind of like really annoyed me because of the way that they actually changed. Like he destroyed his throne. He was, completely rewritten as a character, and kind of made to look more like a good guy or like an anti-hero, which is a little annoying. So I hope that they make this direction actually worth it. And now we have Henry Cavill and Shazam. So I think that the DCU starting point is actually really exciting to be bringing three insanely overpowered heroes. Like they're making the big three of Marvel. Marvel's big three was Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, and they're very strong people. And now they're bringing like three of the most OP characters of the DC universe, Superman, Shazam, and Black Adam all together. And I think that that's actually going to be a really cool approach.
That's basically 3 Superman.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah.
Yo, so here's the pissed off part. So here's what I heard. So speaking of the end credit scene, do you know how they originally planned on having that end credit scene out? So there's two different directions as to what I heard for the end credit scene. The first direction was that they were going to introduce Superman, but they weren't going to introduce Henry Cavill as Superman, and they were going to introduce a different Superman, but still make it Kal-El. And it was going to be a black Superman. So
Yeah,
everyone
that
got
part-
pretty pissed.
Yeah, that
Because-
part annoyed me because they already have a great black Superman,
Right.
and there was no reason to make Kal-El black in like this one, and it's considering it's also in the established DCEU. Like, I don't know,
Second,
it was annoying.
second thing that I actually found interesting, which actually would have fucking pissed me. I would have walked out. I would have been like, I would have walked out anyways because it was the end of the movie. But like, I still would have walked out pissed. So this is
stormed out.
I would have stormed out for sure. I would have left my wife behind. Everything. But this is the direction that they actually planned on making this end credit scene. They actually ended. They planned on before Henry Cavill was announced. They planned on having Amanda Waller there, calling in like favors. It was going to end with Black Adam holding Superman's decapitated head. And I was going to lose it because you cannot kill Superman. There is absolutely no way that you can kill Superman.
No fucking way.
No way.
It's not even like in the general sense of like, oh, they're trying to get rid of Superman in the DC EU. No, Black Adam wouldn't be able to beat Superman anyway.
He
We
wouldn't.
all know that.
Also,
Yeah.
first
If
of all,
Superman tried, he can't beat Superman.
you're not going to give
Yeah.
us any context into how you defeated Superman. You are just going to just completely ignore the fact that we didn't get a Superman versus Black Adam fight and you're just going to show him holding a head.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
I would have been so frustrated if that's the way that they did it if they didn't decide to bring Henry Cavill back. But thank God.
Yeah, I would have
it seems
immediately
like they're-
boycotted
yeah.
DC.
Yep.
Would not stand for it.
Thank God. Thank God. Now, another thing that I
Yeah.
had a problem with is, again, I talked a little bit about this during the non-spoiler review, but during this, I think I can get a little bit more into detail. And that's the fact that I was very upset. Like, it just didn't feel like the Justice Society needed to be involved in the movie. So now we all know that Sabak was the main villain of the movie, but Sabak was only in the movie for 5 fucking minutes, and it was a 2.5 hour long movie. And the
He
premise,
looked so freaking cool too, man.
he looked pretty
So annoying.
solid. I actually liked his design.
The part I didn't like about it, right, was because the way that they did that was like I completely forgot Sabak was supposed to be in it, right? I thought the movie was actually gonna end with him giving up his power, and then like that was kind of it. And then they were like they came back, so it was like they did all this climax to a fine resolution, and then all of a sudden like this climax just jumps back up, and I was like, that felt so out of place for me.
Mhm.
I didn't like that.
No,
You know what I
it
mean?
didn't make any sense. I would have actually really preferred if they just either stuck with one direction, like I said, either they made the Black Adam into an actual villain, like he's supposed to be, and the Justice Society had to stop him. I think that would have been sick. And it's a whole movie with the Justice Society versus Black Adam, or the Justice Society was not involved, and Sabak was actually the main villain. If you're gonna make like Black Adam into a hero, fine, whatever, or an anti-hero, whatever you want to make him, good. Make the plot, because the whole movie stretched this plot about not having the crown involved, like because it would summon Sabak, and the whole reason Sabak was like it was that was the whole plot, and then all of a sudden you finally get to that point of the plot in the movie. And he like defeats him in 5 minutes with a really shitty one-liner, by the way, that he was building up this entire
That they
movie.
were setting up.
I
the
know,
whole
my
movie.
Yeah.
God.
Like, tell the men in black that like I sent you. Like, I was like, bro, what the
It
fuck?
was
Get out of
annoying
here.
because it was like they were trying to make those little tiny scenes were trying to make Black Adam funny, and like I was like, I don't like that. I don't want that. The only funny scenes that I loved and allowed was Hawkman's hate for Adam Smasher.
Dude, I
Which
just
is
loved Adam
Annoyance.
Smasher altogether.
That was
Adam
so
Smasher
funny.
was
So
so
good.
good. Adam Smasher was amazing.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. So I didn't like. It was kind of dumb, and I just hate how. And DC did this a lot, where they did it in Wonder Woman 1. Even though Wonder Woman 1 was a solid movie, but they also did it in Wonder Woman 2. They did it in like Aquaman. Every build up to every villain in all of these movies was such a hardcore build up that you were really suspenseful for. And I was looking forward to it. And then it was just ended with a 2-minute battle. And that battle wasn't even as hype. And it's Sabak, dude. Like that fight was deserving of more than the time that it actually got in the movie.
Yeah,
And like he first of all, like Black Adam was getting his ass handed to him until Hawkman joined in and used like Dr. Fate's powers. But
yeah. He had more trouble with actual regular humans than he did Sabak.
exactly. So and
Right.
we'll get into that too. But like the other thing with it is like, so that was I will say the costumes for all heroes and all villains and everyone DC related were phenomenal. Every suit
Yep.
was spot
God
on.
damn. I've never seen such a top tier like costume design ever in like these like superhero shit.
Especially Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate's
Swear
suit
to
was
God.
Dr.
dope.
Fate,
So
that
freaking-
helmet was
It's so
another
freaking
level.
badass.
It was good.
Yeah.
Oh my
They
god.
did it well.
badass.
And then I didn't even think we'd actually see Pierce Brosnan with the helmet off in the suit. That dude
It was
looked
so
great.
good.
He
Yeah.
looked great in that suit.
He looks
He looked
fantastic.
wise.
Yeah,
did look
it's
wise.
goddamn.
Fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really just my frustration with Black Adam. But I guess now we can kind of go a little bit more into detail of the Justice Society. So
That's the thing that I wanted to talk about, which annoyed me because they they put them in this movie as if they've already been well established,
oh yeah,
right?
It's
Like
a
as
little
if
bit
they
of a
had
mess.
already been a Justice Society movie. We knew these characters, and I didn't like that because it was like I would have loved a better introduction for these characters because these are great heroes and characters to have such a minor role in this movie.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I
That was the
understand.
disappointing part.
So here's the like I understand Cyclone and Atom Smasher because in the
Yeah.
beginning of the movie they did explain that Atom Smasher and Cyclone are young and that this is like their first real mission. That's fine. Totally fine with me that they're introduced the way that they were introduced. But Hawkman and Dr. Fate were introduced as very good friends and that they were in the
Yeah.
Justice Society for a long time and it just felt like it was very like just thrown in. And
Yeah, because what Dr. Fate was about 100 years old, and Hawkman's origin story is that he constantly keeps getting reincarnated.
Yeah.
So he knew Dr. Fate the entire time.
right.
And like,
Well, because the helmet, I forgot the god that possessed the helmet. I think it's Nabu. That's been a long time. That's been in since Hawkman days. So he knows
Yeah.
like the god that's in the helmet.
yeah, that's true.
But Kent Nelson, I think that's his name, or I can't remember his name for Doctor Fate. But he's only been around for 100 years when
Right.
he found the helmet.
'Cause he found the helmet.
So that's
The helmet
probably
chose
where that connection is from between the two.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just no one you wouldn't know that though if you didn't watch
Yeah,
the movie.
you
like,
wouldn't.
Like my wife didn't know that. You know what I mean? And so she was a little confused about that aspect because she was like, "Well, how are they good friends?" And I like had to explain it a little bit. But it's just like if you didn't
Yeah,
know
'cause-
the comics, you wouldn't know the history behind the two of them.
Yeah, those two characters have such great and well-established backstories and origins that like to just drop them in and then like kind of gloss over their exploits and their like experience. I'm like, that was such a disappointment,
It was.
and especially how they did Dr. Fate.
I know. I was gonna say that.
Dr. Fate,
Especially.
Dr.
God.
Fate was the best part of the movie. He was the
Mm-hmm.
perfect actor casted for Dr. Fate, and his CGI, his fight scenes, his magic, everything about him was so fucking
Oh.
good. When he was like, he split himself and he was like multiples of him just like thrown around
Mm-hmm.
every time. So fucking good. The only thing that I wish they did better on for Dr. Fate was to showcase his schizophrenia a little bit more because he like you can kind of like for those people who didn't know who Dr. Fate was, you can kind of tell that he had some like issues. Like every time he touched the helmet, he could look into the future. He was very like disturbed. He mentioned that at the end when he was going to die, he did mention like this is the first time where I can touch the helmet and see nothing and it feels amazing. So you can kind of understand a little bit about Dr. Fate, but in the comics and in the animated series, Dr. Fate was so much more than that. And I just wish that they showcased that a bit more and really went into more depth of his multiple personalities or the personality of the actual helmet itself and how he interacts with all
internal
that.
conflict. Yeah,
Yeah, it was conflict with the
'Cause-
god that's in the helmet.
Right.
yeah, because Nabu is a god and he acts like a god, and he like every like person who wears that helmet like hates that they're sort of in a way forced to be under control,
Right.
like to carry that mantle.
And I just I just don't think that they did that in depth. But what I will say is I don't know if you noticed this, but that scene where Dr. Fate broke Black Adam out of his little prison thing, that was straight out of an actual like video game animation thing. That was
Really?
yes, the way that he did like those moves, that was his special. That was his alt in the game.
Oh shit!
It was dope.
Oh wow.
It was actually
I gotta see that
dope.
scene again.
So yeah, just
Yeah, I gotta
watch
see
it.
the
They have comparisons. It looks sick, and it was so well done. It was exact. It was so good. But him as Dr. Fate, absolutely perfect casting. Loved him every second, every scene that he was in, absolutely perfect. And I was so sad that they killed him off. It was just so upsetting that we finally get introduced a good Dr. Fate. He was amazing.
It's not even
Yeah.
just like Dr. Fate in general, but like to kill off one of like the most OP character in DC, just like that. It's like
Just like
oh
that,
my God.
dude.
Yeah.
Just like that.
I mean, it's like I hate it because like I got mixed emotions by it, right? Because the whole thing is that Dr. Fate is the helmet. Nabu transfers the helmet over to the next wearer, and so Dr. Fate keeps going.
Kinda.
But the thing is though, no, because he does, because like I guarantee you, the next wearer of Dr. Fate's helmet will be Zatanna's father.
No, I know. Yo,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's more of like
That's
the name Dr. Fate. It only started with Kent. It didn't. Before that, it was just like someone who wields the helmet
Oh,
of
okay,
order.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
And Kent,
like-
and at least from what I know, he was like the best Dr. Fate. He was the
Yeah.
strongest Dr. Fate. Yeah.
And he fit like Pierce Brosnan fit that role so well. Like he carried that like character, like it was so fucking good. And I hated that like they gave such an incredible actor this one movie
Yeah,
just to kill him off. Like I don't like. I wish they gave us more.
I know.
Or like for all I know, actually, what they might do, thinking about it now, they might do some kind of prequel with the Justice Society.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be
I think they
pretty dope.
that could be
will.
a thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they could definitely reuse Hawkman back then because he'll always be reborn again. You know what I mean? And like, there's 100 years of missing time that like we could see a whole thing about. And with that, they could probably even give us the Alan Scott Green Lantern in the Justice Society as well.
Yeah.
Well-
So it's a lot of things that can go.
Oh yeah, and this is where I'm excited because I was actually going to mention that it felt really weird to see a Hawkman without Hawkgirl in it, but I feel like we'll see Hawkgirl and Hawkgirl will actually be showcased in that spin-off with the Justice
You
Society.
will see. I cannot wait to see
I
who gets
love,
casted there.
I know.
I
want
cannot.
it so
I
bad.
love her
Mhm,
character.
mhm.
I
can't
know,
wait
me
to.
too.
I really
Oh my
can't wait.
God.
I hope they do a really good job casting her because she's such a pivotal, like she's a very important part of the DC universe, I feel. And like I think that you just
For the
really
Justice League.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think like you really need to cast a good actress. And it needs to be right. It can't just be anyone. But
Yeah.
I
One thing, I bet you if they do a standalone Hawkman movie, they will give us the origin of how they keep reincarnating, give
Oh,
us
for sure.
Hawkgirl,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna. Yeah.
hopefully like I want to see a Vandal Savage so bad.
oh yeah.
Which they
I need
should
to
do that. Well, see, they could have done that because that was the original origin of freaking Black Adam. Was Vandal Savage killed his family, and that's why Black Adam went on a rampage and started doing his villainous thing.
Was it?
Yeah, it's because of Vandal Savage.
Oh.
Yeah. That was the origin that I know. Well, it was Vandal
Yeah.
Savage and someone else, but like that was the origin I know. So I'm like, I thought they're gonna
Yeah.
go that route, but they didn't.
No, they
Alright.
didn't.
But it
So
would have made so much sense
Could've.
with the JSA. Yeah.
it could have. And so here we go. So I mean, so we had Hawkman. I think he did a good job as Hawkman. I liked the actor, honestly. And Hawkman's suit looked dope. Absolutely
Oh,
sick.
The wings.
Yep, the wings.
That shit was
Dr. Fate,
crisp.
sick. Atom Smasher was solid. I like the actor who played Atom Smasher. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing him in more stuff, hopefully. And of
Yeah.
course, my girl, Quintessa Swindle. Oh my God. Let me just give me 1 second real quick right now.
You know, find a picture. Find a picture.
Yeah, boom. Look at her. Look at Quintessa. She's absolutely phenomenal. I think that she killed it. She really killed it in that role. She did such a good job. And
Yeah.
she
I'm
was
not gonna lie to me and my brother when we saw this scene, we were like, "What do you think she's gonna do to Black Adam?"
no, of course, absolutely. I mean, I don't think anyone realized the full, potential except for
Yeah,
Hawkman, because I feel
Yeah.
this, and this is another thing that I don't think they actually explain. Well, they didn't explain, but they didn't explain as to why Hawkman knew kind of a lot about Black Adam is because his reincarnations were kind of alive at that time. Like it's kind of easy
Yeah.
to understand Black Adam's potential, but they didn't go into that. He just explains that
Yeah,
he
was
has
thinking about
access.
it,
he has access
I
to
didn't
stuff.
think about it until after.
Yeah.
but he was probably fucking there.
He was probably there, and
Yeah.
so was probably Dr.
Yeah.
Fate. Honestly, the two of them probably know
Yeah.
Black Adam very well, and except they didn't realize that he was the father. They thought that he was actually the real champion. So that part to them was a little bit, unknown. But I mean, still, the way that they could have explained a few things could have been a little bit cleaner, I guess, in my opinion. So again, action scenes. His smirk was like typical The Rock smirks and smolders. The comedy, I felt like they did a decent job in some of the dark humor, but there was a lot of killing. I just wish that it just seemed like some of the stuff was just thrown in to throw in there so that they could prepare for the future. And the Justice Society was just thrown in so that they had a reason as to making a Justice Society movie or spin-off with these characters.
I hope there's spin-off with Hawkman and Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
Like two
I
separate
absolutely
movies.
would love, a standalone of those two. like I said, those are such phenomenal characters, heroes, and actors that they deserve their own
Yeah.
movies.
It also doesn't
Because
really
they have some of the most interesting storylines.
Oh yeah, for sure. So it really didn't make any sense to me either, because the fact of the matter is, if Hawkman died, he just gets reincarnated. If
Yeah.
Dr. Fate dies, he's dead. He doesn't get reincarnated. The helmet just transfers to someone else, and it's the god that gives the
Yeah.
memories. So I'm like, you could have just
God
let
had to
Hawkman
choose.
die, dude. Hawkman would have just gotten reincarnated, and everything would have been fine. Like I don't know. It's a whole thing.
But I think wasn't it like every certain amount of years before he gets reincarnated? Or was it-
Maybe.
It was he's destined to die at a certain point. And it's usually, and this is how the story went, was that Hawkman and Hawkgirl are never supposed to be together for very long.
Mhm.
Because they have this whole lovers thing where the curse is that like they're fated every single time, that when they finally find each other, it's not long until they die from either the hands of Vandal Savage or some kind of fate. And so that way because they're supposed to be eternal lovers, and that heartbreaking story, which is why it's such a good story.
So it's basically Hancock, the Will Smith movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah.
Yes.
So I think the movie overall action stuff was good, but Easter eggs, there really weren't like too much. It was really just all action. I
Yeah.
liked the fight scene between Hawkman and Black Adam in the kids' room where they were like tearing up all the posters of all the other
Yeah.
like
I love that his weapon,
or
because like
heroes.
Hawkman's weapons always used to be that giant, like, what are
Mace.
those weapons
It's a
called?
mace.
Yeah, mace, right?
Mace.
Yeah, but then his transforms
Yeah, it's cool.
like
Which
the
is
whole time, like,
new.
which is great.
It is
Yeah.
a little
Yeah,
new.
because that was never a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm excited for them, but again, it just didn't seem like it belonged in the movie. And I think they could have actually rewritten this movie to be a little bit better, making Black Adam a legitimate villain. Because there are a lot of things in this movie that I felt like Black Adam would never do. And so, but they still have a good direction. So my predictions is that in Shazam 2, one of the end credit scenes is going to introduce Black Adam. We're going to have a Man of Steel 2. We might have Black Adam involved in Man of Steel 2. We might have a Black Adam versus Superman and Shazam. But my worry is that during this whole dark side thing in the phases, Black Adam is going to become a good guy, or the way that they defeat Black Adam is going to be dumb. Because I don't think that Black Adam obviously is going to be around a lot, especially The Rock. I think he's going to have his couple of movies, and then he's going to be done as Black Adam. So he probably has a contract for maybe like 4 or 5 movies. When he does
Yeah,
that,
'cause he doesn't have such a significant storyline
no.
in the overall DC.
Exactly. But I think they're going to give him a more significant storyline as far as the phases go. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to have it so that they fight Superman and Shazam, and then he's going to have some sort of heartfelt moment that makes him give up. And I just hope that that's not the case, because I feel like that's also going to happen in Black Panther, which is what I'm not looking forward to, is because Black Panther is supposed to be a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. And I think what's going to happen is whoever's taking up the mantle of Black Panther, which I'm pretty sure is Shuri, is going to go up to the villain and basically talk them down like they did in Wonder Woman 2 and make the excuse being like he wouldn't like T'Challa wouldn't want this. You know, T'Challa would want peace. And then like talk them down, get all emotional, and then that's how they end that shit. And that's what I don't like. It's like you're giving such OP villains like oh shoot, why his name's slipping my mind right now. The villain in Black Panther. Namor, thank you. So you're giving like insanely, by the way, insanely OP villains, Black Adam and Namor. You're giving them really stupid deaths, and and it's like it's just, and I hope that they don't do that. But Black Adam just kind of seems that it's going to be going in that direction where he actually has like a conscience and like morals and emotions, and I don't like that. So, but the thing is, you know, again, I don't. This is, I think, as much as we really can talk about. We can talk about the Justice Society. We can talk about Henry Cavill back as Superman, and we can talk about Dwayne Johnson. But there wasn't enough plot to be able to talk about a lot of Easter eggs for the future of the DC. Because normally, when we watch a movie like the Thor, the fourth Thor: Love and Thunder, or like anything else related to Marvel or DC, there's a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of actual, you know, future directions as to how this can go. But this movie didn't feel like we really had much of a direction other than introducing Henry Cavill back as Superman and introducing the first phase. So I'm curious as to how this is going to go when Shazam 2 comes out, because that's the next DC movie that's coming out. And I think that he's going to be a part of it, at least in an end credit scene. So that's really the entirety of the movie. Bring back Dr. Fate, please. And like, let's do an origin with the actor in the movie. Like, let's do an origin or something. Give him his own movie and then kill him off. That's fine. Or like, I think we deserve some more spin-offs. So I hope that that's the direction that they're moving in.
I don't know.
So
a JSA movie, a Dr. Fate movie, a Hawkman movie. Those are the three things I want right now.
Oh yeah, I agree. So I guess now is as good a time as ever to, well, you know what? Before we get into this, do you agree, YouTube? Do you agree with our opinions in the matter? What did you think of the movie overall? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Did you think it was crap? Because here's the thing. All the ratings that I hear from Black Adam are either insanely good ratings or just really shit ratings. Like, there's no in between. People aren't like, I thought it was a good movie. It's either they hated it or they loved it. And so, do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? What is your thoughts on Black Adam? And what is your thoughts of the future of the DCU? Now that it is phase one, the first movie of phase one, what do you think is going to happen now that they've opened up into like an actual direction of, you know, some sort of motion? Comment down below, let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. But now I think we should just kind of get into the whole category situation, starting off with the story and plot, which all three of us I think kind of agree that it wasn't the greatest, but we'll go down one by one. We'll take the averages of all of them and kind of throw it up by 5. So Shane, what do you think of the plot? What do you think of the story? What would you give it out of 5?
Start this. Out of 5, I want to be nice and say 3, but I'm thinking 2.
Yeah,
you
2.
Yeah, that's
2.
what I'm saying. Like, I want to be nice, but it's for sure 2. Because there's not a plot. If you were to say there's a plot, it's really like the most generic plot you could possibly think of. Holds no significance. Gives no setup for any future thing. Like, it's just what a standalone movie that you don't expect another sequel to be. You know what I mean? Yeah, so 2 for me.
2 for you, Andrew?
It's a 2 for me. I agree with Shane said, especially with the climax with the main villain, which only lasted 5 minutes. That held no weight for the movie at all.
Oh, that pissed me off.
No point in having that
So
character
dumb.
in there.
I was looking
And
forward
real quick,
to
by
it.
the way, like Savak, he's supposed to be like the evil version of Shazam. Like, he's supposed to have all the devils combined
Yes.
together to be like one of the most OP
And real
villain.
quick, with the whole setup with the crown and that energy thing, what is that called? Do you guys remember?
E something. It began with an E, I believe. It was like Eternatum or
Ethereum
something.
or something like that?
Ethereum or something.
Eternium,
Yeah.
Eternium, yeah.
Turnium,
Yeah.
yeah.
they introduced that little interesting rock that I've never even seen in the comics, and like it can harm Black Adam.
Yeah,
Which is weird.
What was
I
that
just
about?
realized that. Yeah.
I forgot about
What was
that.
that
That's a
about?
totally good
I was
point.
like,
There was
Blue
no
blood.
significance for any of this. There was all of
Yeah.
that set up for this crown, and that crown summoned what was basically this hellish demon, and like that didn't even play to the storyline because they were so heavy on Justice Society versus Black Adam and trying to get Black Adam to stop. I don't know, man. Like I said, the
Yo,
plot.
the
too-
other
yeah, it's two.
one
Two
more
is also
thing, yeah,
generous. You know what?
one more thing before we finalize the story, bro. The way that they introduced Hell kind of upset me too, because this is kind of the first showcase that we're getting of Hell, and I really,
Yeah.
really want them to introduce Hell more on a Raven aspect. Like if they can bring Raven into this and
Oh,
start
Trigon.
introducing Hell with
Oh my
Trigon
God.
and
Yeah.
everything.
Especially with freaking if the Constantine ever comes into this universe,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like, and they have that hellish demon that always talks in riddles or rhymes or something.
Yep.
I love that dude.
Bro, but like
Yeah.
Raven is born from hell. Like she is like and her whole thing is hell. So
Yeah.
I would have loved if they introduced that more, but they like introduced hell kind of
They
in this.
glossed right over it.
Yeah, but like fine, introduce hell with Sabak, but like at least give it a little bit more time. They didn't even explain hell. They
Yeah.
just said that hell had a champion as well, and that like
Yeah.
Eternium or. It still makes no sense. The fact that that was like one of the first things that like he got introduced for when that rocket blew up and then some of it went inside of him and then he just fell from the sky.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, what the fuck? No, there's no way.
Yeah.
I got absolutely like super upset because I was like, how the hell did he just like fall? What the hell is this shit? And then I do remember I was like thinking, I was like, what the? I've never heard of this before ever in my life. This is a brand new thing, making him less OP. It's like his kryptonite, I think, is just Eternum, but like dumb. Because like
Real
they're
quick, speaking of like materia though, like they did introduce Nilf, the metal for DC,
Nth
which is
metal.
like the
Yeah.
which is the equivalent of adamantium from
Right.
Marvel. But that was
they
Yeah.
did introduce it
Yeah.
again. Not much
That one should
detail.
have been, if anything, that should have been the weapon. That should have done some kind of harm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It
But the
didn't.
thing is, even in the comics, the only weaknesses that even had like Superman had and Black Adam had is like kryptonite for Superman, but magic. That was like the only thing.
Yeah.
And that was like another thing too. Like Black Adam throughout the movie basically said your magic was weak. So like he knew like, magic was his weakness, but like, and that was why Dr. Fate was so fucking sick because Dr. Fate was the only person that can bind him. They were fighting and binding and doing all this other shit. But like, that was the only thing. Like you would see like Hawkman would get his ass handed to him whenever he fought Black Adam. But like
Yeah.
Dr. Fate was
Every
the
time.
only fucking one that stood a chance. He could hold him off and do all that shit because of magic.
Yeah.
And now you're introducing an entirely like different like source. And you go into no detail. There's no reason as to why, like, there's no explanation as to why Black Adam's weakness is this. And then also,
I'm
by the
pretty
way,
sure.
if
Yeah,
he's
real
weak
quick,
to
I'm pretty
it,
sure we're not going to be introduced to that ever again in the future.
No.
Just
I
saying.
know.
because I was gonna
I
say
don't think that's gonna hold any significance.
it's a giant plot hole. Because if he's weak to it, that means that Shazam is weak to it too. But I don't think that they would go into that detail. They're the same person. So how can Shazam not be weak to this? So now Shazam and Black Adam both have a kryptonite, but I don't think that we're going to get into more detail on that. You know what I mean? It's going to
We'll
make
see.
no sense. Plus,
Shazam too.
it's such a
It also
rare
kind of
item.
makes me wonder. It makes me wonder is like if it can hurt something as godly as Black Adam. Like, shouldn't that mean it should also be able to hurt Superman?
I don't know.
Like,
Because it's just,
like,
it's
no,
not,
I don't know.
it's not
because
the thing.
you would think that it has to do something with magic, which is why it can hurt Shazam. Because magic is what all of Shazam, Black Adam's power is, right? And like, so that stone has to hold some significance of magic because it also introduced Hell. So by that same logic, if the stone carries some form of magic, that stone should also technically be able to hurt Superman. Because
Technically,
that's the only other thing.
yes, if we're moving
Yeah.
in that direction for sure. But the only source of that stone is the crown and that necklace that the woman had. There's like it's a very rare metal, so like Andrew said, I don't think we're gonna see this at all ever again. Like
Yeah.
I think it was just some random ass weird thing to introduce Sabak.
Yeah.
And way to summon like a devil and shit. So overall, I will agree with the two of you. Story weak. In whatever story that there was and plot that there was, it was very generic, like you said. I'm also giving it a 2, which is a very easy average of just 2. So we're gonna rate the story and plot of Black Adam a 2 out of 5. Next is character. So we're going to talk about, we already know that like all the other characters were spot on. We had Cyclone, she was great. Dr. Fate, awesome. Hawkman, awesome. Atom Smasher, awesome. I didn't care for the woman and I did not care for the child. You know what?
They do.
I know that there's
woman and
significance.
Yeah, in the Black Adam comic, they are.
But it's
significant,
fucking
like,
dumb.
Oh, are
Yo,
they?
Yeah, they become Isis and Osiris or something like that.
can I
Yeah.
just say something for real too, by the way? This is a scene that
gives them
also
powers.
pissed me off. This is a scene that pissed me off. You know that scene where like the army of the dead started rising and that fucking kid just stood on a platform and was like, "This is our time," and then just did this and stood there. And then all the guys were like, "What are we waiting for?" And I thought they were going to do shit, but instead all of them just decided to stand there. And I'm like, you 100% relied your life on Black Adam returning even though he was jailed. What if he didn't show up? You would just be dead. You fucking idiot. So like, how are you just gonna stand there going like this?
He did this to gather the people of Kondak so they can fight the undead with the mom and the.
Yeah, but they didn't. They were gathered. They did a good
Oh,
job gathering.
They went and fought with weapons and blunt
After
objects.
standing there for like an hour. So like, what's the point? There's no reason to do this. He even gave a speech and the guy was like, "What are we waiting for?" There was no need for them to do this. They literally could have just been like, "What are we waiting for?" And everyone would be like, "Yeah, let's fucking kill him." And then just go over and kill these armies of the undead. But instead, they just decided to stand there doing a weird
That
fucking
was
triangle symbol.
For unifying each other.
No, it was stupid.
And
It was
then
dumb.
pulling out.
I wish
It
that
was-
kid
it-
got
it
squished
was
by the
cheesy.
statue.
It was cheesy as hell, and that felt like it was unnecessary for that fact.
So fucking
Like
stupid.
this one little random kid that unified a mess of people. Like it just like
On a
it felt
skateboard.
cheesy.
So like, I don't know, stupid. That another thing really actually pissed me off, especially since we didn't
know
even
what?
get that much of the army of the undead. They were freaking killed so easily. It's dumb. It was dumb. The whole thing was dumb.
You know what? You know what? Actually, this is such a tiny little thing that annoyed me during the movie. It's so minuscule that's honestly not worth mentioning. But I'm talking about the kid in the skateboard. Every single time he ran down the stairs, he skateboards for like 2 feet and then gets back on the stairs.
Yeah, he
And
gets-
he kept doing that. And I kept seeing it. And I was like, "Stop that!"
Yeah, it was so dumb. The kid had
I feel
some. Okay.
Yeah, no go.
I was gonna say the kid had some solid acting moments, but like it was off and on for me. But what were you gonna say, Andrew?
Yeah, no, since we're like talking about characters, I'm like looking up the Easter eggs in Black Adam that we might have missed. So there's some stuff that we can actually just mention here real quick too, like the Intergang, the soldiers that Black Adam fought.
Yeah.
You know how like some of them they were on like these futuristic
Yeah, I was
motorcycle.
wondering that.
Fine. So apparently they got these in a comic New 52, or the 52 series. They got these weapons, these technologies from Apocalypse,
Oh,
which is where Darkseid is.
there we go.
That
So that's a small Easter
that
egg.
that could make sense.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
so
I
that's
think
one way it could tie to
So that
Darkseid.
technology wasn't-
yeah,
that shit was a little too advanced.
it was way too advanced.
Yeah,
I
but
was
that
like,
felt
this is not in the
when I
future.
when I saw that trailer, I was like, is this set in a weird futuristic time period? 'Cause I
Yeah.
thought that was weird.
No, they
Yeah.
definitely. That's actually a really cool point that you just pointed out. So that's really cool. I figured that the first phase villain, like the first phase section that DC was going to have, the villain was going to be Darkseid. You got to open up the phase with a huge villain, and that does make a lot of sense. How they obtain stuff like that. So that's interesting.
Going
And
with the yeah, no, because we were talking about the kid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So eventually, the wife or the mother, she eventually gets the amulet of Isis, which give her powers of her own, and then she eventually marries Black Adam.
of course she does.
So like,
And
and she ended up dying.
yeah, and the thing is too, like they even put the cape around the kid, and I was like, it's fucking,
Oh, it's sweet.
It was sweet, but I'm like, he's gonna be a hero, like because they kept on saying like you can help, but you can help in your own way, blah blah blah. You could be a hero too, and I'm like, God, they're really setting this kid up. But so they did that, but again, talking about other characters, but as far as the character rating out of 5 goes, I'd like to characterize and rate Dwayne The Rock Johnson as the Black Adam and his origin. We could include his origin story into this entire thing, but the character in a whole, Black Adam as a whole, what did you think, Andrew?
It's not too far off. You know, yes, they did some minor changes with his origin and stuff like that, but it's not too far off. So I can't really just hate them for that. But obviously, like in terms of look wise and displaying his power wise, that's definitely like a 5 out of 5 for me. Like it's a 5 out of 5. Black Adam. For Black Adam. It's Black
yeah,
Adam.
for Black.
Yeah.
I would actually, because like the origin was a tad bit different, and he wasn't his full villainous self,
Villainous thing, yeah.
I'm giving it a 4.
Okay. I am actually going to have to agree with Shane. I was a little upset. No, it's so look, I agree with you, Andrew, as far as
I know.
like Black
I actually
Adam in
want to give it
general
a
was
5,
fantastic. The only
Yeah.
reason that I'm knocking it down a full point, as you said, Shane, is it did really upset me that they really changed his story and they made him less OP. And again, like you said, they didn't make him as villainous, and I was really looking forward
It's
for a
because-
hardcore villainous movie.
That new origin is the reason why they made like he isn't so villainous, because they
Yeah,
gave him
I have to
something
go with that,
sympathetic and like
Mhm.
you know, something to connect to give him hope or whatever of like being a good person. And I was like, but the original kind of origin is just pure evil,
Exactly.
seeking power.
And that's
and,
the
like,
origin
it
that I
almost-
know.
Like it almost shifts the entirety of his character and his story. But like I'm giving it a 4 because he's still a phenomenal character
Oh yeah.
and well portrayed.
So-
But like a 4, like is the best I can do.
No, I totally understand and I completely agree. And the fact of the matter is, it's just this is the Black Adam that I grew up on. You know what I mean? Like I know Black Adam as a villain, and that's like as an OP ass villain. And so it's just it hurts. I mean, a little bit, but I also liked Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. I thought he did a fantastic job. I thought his suits were cool, both the one with the cape and without the cape. I think when he was villainous, it was really cool. And the action scenes and the murderous version of him were really well done. And for that,
Yeah.
I'm also giving it a 4, but I did have to dock at 1 point. So average wise, we're actually going to rate it 4.5 out of 5. So that's actually
bad.
really interesting. That's not bad at all when
Yeah.
you think about it. So that's cool. Action is the next scene. I'm just gonna give it a 5 out of 5. The
Yeah,
action
5.
scenes were so
Another
good.
4.
That was
I'm
good.
giving it a 4. Again, because it got repetitive. It was just punching.
Yeah, but it's action.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
that, you know,
you're
it's
only-
cool.
You're limited to as much as possible you can do, but it's great action.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
It could have
great.
been
You see,
could have been
you see
more
how he
unique.
tossed that guy in the air,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
he just saw him plummet to the ground. Phenomenal. I love it.
No. Only like the first 15 minutes of action, I was like, this is freaking badass. But after like an hour passed doing the same thing, I'm like, no. So I'm gonna give it 4. That's fair. It's a
Okay,
4.
fair's 4. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Shane's giving it a 5 out of 5. And because we have 2 5s and a 4 instead of 2 4s and a 5, we actually rate it 2 points higher than the character as a 4.7 out of 5, which is impressive.
Good. Yeah.
CGI. I will say that there were points in the movie where the CGI was a little messy. Sabak looked
wonky.
badass. Yeah. Sabak looked badass. The fight scenes were pretty clean. All of the slow motion scenes were very sharp. Overall, I'd probably give the CGI a 4. In my
Solid
opinion.
5.
I'm gonna give
I
it a
can't.
4.
I couldn't even spot anything that was bad about that CGI for me.
There was some
like I don't maybe
parts
like,
where I
maybe
was like, "Ugh."
maybe I didn't have the eye for it.
I-
but I enjoyed it every like scene from it.
I want to give it a 5 just because of Dr. Fate alone.
Oh,
But-
that was so good.
Yeah.
But I know
Honestly-
nothing can be perfect, so like I have to rewatch it again just to see. So I'm just
The
gonna give it a
CGI
4.5.
from Cyclone
4.5.
alone I actually loved, just because of what they did with her powers.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah, that alone was what gave me a 5.
Real quick, with speaking of Cyclone, but you know how like she said that she got her power 15 years ago because of a mad scientist.
Yes,
The mad scientist is basically a Red Tornado.
that's dope.
Remember Red Tornado? Yeah.
No, I
Is
I
it?
know little
Yeah.
of him, but yeah, that's
That's
actually
why she
really
has a little
sick.
bit of the Cyclone thing from Red Tornado.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
That's actually
Oh.
What if I just made that up?
No,
I
that'd be so
believe you,
pissed,
man.
dude.
I believe
But
you.
Red Cyclone, yeah. If they fucking introduced Red Cyclone, I would be so
Red
hyped.
Tornado, Red Tornado.
Red Tornado, sorry, yeah, sorry. Red Tornado, dude, I would be so hyped.
Yeah,
That'd be
he's part of
dope.
the Justice League, so
Mm-hmm.
That'd be sick. So overall, 4.5, 4 and 5. We're giving it a 4.5 for CGI out of 5.
these are some high scores so
These
far.
are, and that's why it's going to be really
I
interesting as an
kind of knew
overall
they
rating.
would all be high. Yeah, I kind of knew that.
Soundtrack, I'm giving a 1. I don't even
One.
remember the
One,
soundtrack.
yeah.
I don't
That's
remember
I
the
don't remember
soundtrack.
anything about the music.
If I can give it a 0, I'll give it a 0. But I'm gonna give it a 1.
So 1 out of
Nothing
5.
about it, like, because like the thing that I love, like the thing that I want when it comes to a soundtrack is like the importance of a soundtrack is how it makes you feel during a certain scene, or how like excited you feel, how sad you feel, how like hopeful it becomes. Because like watching Man of Steel, there were a lot of moments where it kind of made you feel hopeful and like it's growing, and like
Mhm.
nothing in this movie was like that.
Nope.
Like it just is a straight action movie, but there was no type music that kind of like was memorable, that like was such significance. Yeah,
Sound like a
Yeah,
bunch of
yeah.
rock music. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was forgetful too. I don't even remember. I didn't even know that there was music. That's how bad that was. You know what I mean? So one for soundtrack. Cyclones 5 and 5, and so that kind of just leaves all of
Adam.
our. I will stand by that every single time. You cannot convince me otherwise.
yeah.
But though that pretty high ratings for a little bit, but then you get really low in the ratings for some of that stuff too. So now we're just gonna end it off. Overall rating out of 5, guys. So what did you rate this out of? Oh, I'm sorry, out of 10. What did you rate? What would you rate this completely? So after everything that we talked about, all of our frustrations, all of the things that we really enjoyed, all of the categories that we just rated out of 5, your now overall rating of the movie, Andrew, what would you rate it out of 10? And why?
I definitely know I need to watch it again. And I'm pretty sure if I watch it again, my rating might change. But for now, I'm gonna give it a 7. And I'm
7.
giving it a 7 only because mainly the story and plot, like it made it feel lackluster for me. You know, like I was just sitting there watching a mindless action movie, which is fine. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's a popcorn flick. However, it didn't do anything for me because I try to seek a connection with the characters, stuff like that when I watch a film. That's the reason why I love Man of Steel. You know, I feel for Clark Kent. I feel for Superman. The soundtrack definitely helped, like Shane mentioned. All those things together in Man of Steel made that movie the best DC movie for me. This didn't do any of that. It was just like a generic action-packed movie.
Right.
So I'm gonna give it a 7. Yeah.
Yep.
It's only a 7 because of the goddamn end credit scene.
Oh yeah. Oh, and that was upsetting. So I wanted to talk real quick about that end credit scene, just to bring up a conversation real quick. Is the fact that, like I said earlier in the stream, I wasn't hyped for the end credit scene as I should have been, and the reason why was because of just the fans constantly posting, he's back, he's not back, Henry Cavill's coming back, he's not going to be back as Superman. Oh wow, look, Henry Cavill is actually back as Superman. There's a Man of Steel 2 being posted, and then I'm like, well, now I know the end credit scene is going to be Superman. And the problem with the fans is they dig too much into these movies, and I'm guilty of doing that. I think we're all guilty of digging a little too deep in some of these movies, but it ruins the excitement, it ruins the surprise. There's no surprise. I knew Superman was going to be in this stuff, so like I literally left there was only 2 people that clapped. Like usually when something like that happens, it's so deserving of a fucking applause, and I was waiting for it, but like 2 people were just like, and that was it, and like done, we all fucking left. So I was like, bro, like it was so like, it was just the moment was gone. I was still excited, and I love seeing Henry Cavill in the original suit, but it just didn't. It wasn't there. It wasn't there,
I know it was,
and it's our
I hate-
fault,
'cause
man. It's our fault.
My love for Superman like is what pulls anything over the top, and like I regardless of like how lackluster that introduction or like the build up to like reintroducing him back to the universe, I was the only one hyped about it, but I understand that like people were like unfazed by it. Like there was
Oh
just
yeah.
like what 2, 3 people applauding in my audience as well, and I was like, oh come on, man, like you guys don't know the journey that fucking Henry
It
Cavill
sucked,
went
man.
through. You know what
It
Yeah,
I'm saying?
sucked, dude. It
yeah,
really sucked, and that's.
yeah.
I wish that it was more hyped, but it just there was no wow and shock factor, and
Yeah.
the fans are
It
getting
should have
so
deserved
bad.
that.
The fans
Yeah.
are getting so like the hype is real. Like after
They
the movie,
are
we're getting
taking
hype.
so much control of these movies. Like these fans are like gaining such power with studios like that they can almost ruin a movie before it ever comes out, and I
Right.
hate the thought of that.
Yeah.
Like there's moments where they can save a good movie, like make a good movie, but like that power that like we as fans have, like I feel like
Yeah.
just let this shit come out and just let us just take it for what it is. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's good, it's good.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Also, funny story. Henry Cavill announced that he was in Black Adam Monday.
I know.
Monday.
Yeah, right.
That's
I know.
three. That's 3 days to let people watch this movie. He hardcore spoiled it for some people too, and I'm like, bro, that's not nearly enough time for you to wait to announce this shit. It's probably not his fault. The studio probably told him to announce it, but bro, like Marvel Studios gives you 2 weeks before posting any spoilers. Henry Cavill was like, I'm giving you 3 days, and then it's just like, hey,
Yeah,
yo, by the way, I was in
But you
Black
know,
Panther, bro.
I know why though. Like I can kind of guess why. It's because the theater runtime for Black Adam is so short because Black Panther 2 is coming out. So they want people to rush to watch
Yeah, they gotta get.
Black Adam. Yeah.
Oh, that's true too.
They got
I
to get
think-
a lot of people to watch it first.
I think he also wanted to be on top of the game because everyone was spoiling this, that he kind of like it was so big that he was already
Yeah.
back as Superman that he didn't officially announce that he was back as Superman, but it was already there. Like the Man of Steel 2 was announced as Henry Cavill coming back. Everything was coming back, and it was already announced that
Yeah.
he was
News
Superman,
was already
but he
coming out
never
before
got to
already
say
making
it.
spoilers.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think he had to just say it before anyone like more news came out, and he just needed to officially say something. But I was like, bro, spoilers, man, that's crazy. But so Shane, Andrew gave a 7. What are you going to give as the
Yeah.
overall for this?
My score is actually very close to his, 7.5, and that 0.5 is because of the introduction of Superman.
Okay.
But like when like rating this movie, it's like I said, like great costume design, great actors, well portrayed heroes, like well chosen heroes to introduce. Because like I said, Hawkman and Doctor Fate, such phenomenal heroes to like finally enter into this world, and like they did that execution very well. But the way they introduced them and the storyline and the plot really takes away from everything else. And like, doesn't matter what kind of movie you're watching, that's so important to make a good movie.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it can be an all action movie, but like good action movies still have a good significant storyline that gives you a nice build up to like resolution. This was just, it felt way too up down, and like again unnecessary characters like Sabak and everything, which was also like felt like a waste of a character too with the introduction of Hell and all that. And like because that could have also been a great setup for other characters like Trigon and everything, because if they're gonna do Darkseid as a main villain at some point, they can always tap back into Hell, because they could have given it a good introduction, gave us Trigon, gave us Raven, like give us like a whole Young Justice or Teen Titans movie setup. You know what I mean? All this potential that like could have been something. So like I wish like the execution was better, but it was okay. So
Fair.
7.5 is the best I can do for it.
Fair enough. So my rating, I'm agreeing with Andrew. I'm giving it a 7. I'm giving it a flat 7, and the reason being is because the plot again was a little messy. There really wasn't much plot. The fight scenes were awesome. The end credit scene was fantastic. I just wish that I was more excited, and that's not the movie's fault. That is just us. That's our fault. That's the audience's fault. That's the fans' fault. I think that we just look too much into these movies and we dig too much to find out information that we're not supposed to, that we can no longer enjoy the movies the way that it's actually supposed to be enjoyed, because now we have such high expectations for how the end credit scenes and the movie is supposed to be. And we peer pressure directors, and it happens in the Marvel universe, it happens in the DC universe. We are now like peer pressuring them to make the movies the way that we want them to be made, and if they're not made the way that we want them to be made, we instantly don't like the movie. So I'm trying to see Black Adam in his new form, in his new direction. I'm trying to see it through, and I'm trying to give it an open mind. So that's why I'm rating it a 7. Otherwise, I kind of would have rated it a little bit lower, because of the fact that my version of Black Adam that I know is that he is a villain. But again, I'm trying to stay optimistic, especially since this is the first movie in the new phase. I'm actually looking for, like, so here's the thing. If it was actually a part of the DCEU, I think I wouldn't like it as much. But because it is the first movie in the first phase and they are resetting everything as a new DC universe, I'm actually giving it a higher rating, and I like it more because I think that it was a good way to introduce the first phase. And it was a good introduction into stuff like that. And it was a good introduction into a lot of superheroes, but also Black Adam. I liked the action and I liked the characters, but would I see it again? No. I think I've seen the movie once, and I think once was enough for me to understand the direction that the movie was going in and all the things that I needed to see. So for that, I'm docking it a couple. I didn't think it was an amazing movie, but I didn't think it was an awful movie. And I thought that it was definitely better than Thor: Love and Thunder. And we rated Thor: Love and Thunder 6.5. So
Random jab.
Yeah. Well, it's because it was kind of like the last movie that we rated. And so I'm looking at the ratings that we did, and I'm looking at like things that I didn't like so much, and I'm seeing that we rated it like a 6 and a 6.5. And I feel like Black Adam is more deserving of that. But again, I think that it's really important, especially with DC starting over as the DC universe, that we enter this with an open mind. Really understand that this is an entirely new universe, separate from the DCEU, and the way that they're approaching this is going to be a little bit different, and they have to. Like, it's not going to be exactly like the comics. So I think, suck it up, man. Like, if it's not exactly like the comics, fine, it's not exactly like the comics. At least try and understand the approach that they're going in, and that's what I'm trying to do with Black Adam. So for that, I'm giving it a 7. It was definitely better than average, and I think that the 3 points is actually, it's a high rating, a 7 for that, because an 8 is kind of more along the lines of Spider-Man No Way Home, which we rated pretty highly, and then a 9 is what we rated the Batman, and that was just cinematically amazing. So so I think a 7 is actually a really good direction and a really good number to go into. And since we're starting to rate so many movies now, and we're starting to get into a little bit more of a complicated thing, I usually just stuck with like even numbers or like 0.5s. But we're starting to get too much into the thing where it's like, if I rate this as 6.5, then we're rating it the same as Thor: Love and Thunder, and we're relating, like, you know what I mean? So we are now going to start rating things very equal, and to the point. So with decimals. So instead of doing 7 or 7.5, we're actually going to do like 7.2, 7.3, 7.4s. And I'll round up or down depending on the thing, because I just think like eventually we're going to be rating so many other movies that we're going to start comparing the older movies that we rated to the newer movies and being like, well, I liked this more, but it's like I didn't like it as much as Thor, but I liked it more than Black Adam, but it doesn't make sense because there's no in between. So we're going to start giving those 2 points. 2 7s and 1 7.5 actually averages out to 7.2. So we officially stamp this with a Comic Nerds approval of a 7.2. Officially. Overall.
Officially.
Which I actually think is a fair rating.
It is.
Yeah. For this movie, for sure.
For this movie, for sure, absolutely. Overall, the movie was very good. It's enjoyable, especially if you really like action. So, is the movie worth watching? Yes. Is the
Yes.
movie worth watching in IMAX and Dolby? Absolutely. I think that you would benefit from seeing it in those theaters because of the action. It's just going to make it so much better with the bass and the amplitude of the amps there, not in a regular theater. But it was a good movie overall. It could have been better, but it was a nice introduction to Phase 1. And for that, we are stamping it with a 7.2 overall. So I guess that's really it for for tonight. I mean, we went really in depth with the movie, and I think the next movie to come is Black Panther 2 in 2 weeks. So if you haven't bought those tickets for Black Panther 2 and you're planning on going to see that, go and see it because it's going to be a tearjerker. If you haven't yet seen Black Adam, go and see it. If you have seen it and you agree, do you agree with the Comic Nerds professional, not so professional rating? Do you disagree with our rating? What would you rate this movie out of 10 overall, and why? Is what I would like to hear. So comment down below your thoughts about the movie. Comment down below your thoughts about what we thought about the movie and what you're really looking forward to the most with these new phases now that they're introducing a phase 1 of the DC universe. What are your thoughts about this entire thing, the direction that DC is going in? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I'd love to hear it. I think we would all love to hear it. And if you enjoyed this content, if you enjoyed us listening to, or if you enjoyed listening to our complaining and our thoughts about this movie and the DCU in general, feel free to join us every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/adips_. You can subscribe to us. You can find the link in my bio in the YouTube channel and everything like that. Feel free to give us a follow and join us on Thursdays. But for now, I think that's it. Guys, I think we did a solid job tonight and gave a pretty accurate description of Black Adam.
I agree.
Yeah.
Solid stuff, solid stuff. So we'll be back on next Thursday for your typical Comic Nerds episode 40. I think we should do something big for episode 40. It's a big 10. So we'll talk about it more, but if you're interested, come join us next Thursday. For now, have a great rest of your night and have a fantastic weekend and start to your week next week. And we'll hopefully see you next week on Thursday. Good night, everybody.